it would be good to get to a point in the next 5 years where it starts to almost flow as seamlessly as the ideas come. You know?
That's true.
And I would like that for a lot of the people around me.
That's
you know,
true.
for us to be able to get to a point where you could call me, you have the idea,
Yeah,
we make it
we
happen.
go straight to it.
And you know what I mean? It's not no long talk.
What's good, my G?
How you doing?
Blessed.
Yeah,
Nice to see you in the 254.
It's good to be back, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is your second home now.
I'm trying to make it like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel whenever you pass by, you come hang out with the guys?
Very much inspired.
Yeah.
It's a very active place. There's always like something going on.
Okay.
Every time I'm here, it's like
Dope.
every single day is, it's jam packed.
I hear you,
I
I hear
make it
you.
a point to at least pass by the studio.
For sure, I appreciate it, by the
Just
way.
check in.
Yeah, also like you're connecting the other artists to us from UG and East Africa in general.
Yeah.
We're building a nice community all around.
Yeah. Trying to.
That's dope.
It's like an active effort. It's something you do like in small chunks.
Yeah.
And it's obviously trying to connect the right people who are like
Exactly.
like-minds.
I think it's also very beautiful because like I met you a while ago and we
Yeah.
just kicked it.
Yeah.
And right now we have a lot of projects we've worked together.
Yeah.
A lot that's also coming out soon, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, just to foster these relationships with people you didn't grow up with, or it was just very organic. I think I really appreciate that.
Man, same. I often think about, like, not just every once in a while, but like often think about how far, things have come.
Exactly.
Since like the first time, we had met, there was no Studio 18. There was
Exactly.
No space. It was just like, more so art and more so
The creativity, the craft.
I'm curious as to the evolution of those particular skill sets,
Yeah.
It was going from screen printing or working in like what was one format, but applying different mediums.
Yeah.
And then that element or that particular thing has evolved now into still applying different mediums. But
Exactly.
you're working in multiple, you're working with different materials, you're working
Yes.
with different elements. I'm kind of curious about that kind of growth.
I think
that is still true to what you do, but
Exactly.
it's become bigger.
Yeah, I think for me, my journey has always been like experimenting with different things.
Yeah.
So when I started, I think the first time I met you was just making like t-shirts for the homies and stuff like that. And that grew from like a point of, I used to make art and then I couldn't sell art at that time.
Right.
People weren't buying.
Yeah.
So I started just making merchandise to say.
Yeah.
And putting my art on t-shirts and stuff like that. And that's how like I cultivated this brand,
Yeah.
And yeah, it has helped me connect with different artists. And at heart, I still like experimenting with different mediums.
Right.
So every now and then I try to switch it up. We do films, sculptures, paintings.
Yeah.
I think it's just the spirit of experimenting has made me grow as a person
Right.
and has helped my craft really expand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned something that's a little bit more interesting as well, because it came from a place of understanding like consumer demand, right?
Yeah.
People weren't buying what you were initially selling, and you adapted to that.
Exactly.
But you still retained like a very pure artistic spirit in
Yeah.
that. What's been like, has it been a very tense relationship between like tending to what people are buying and then also what you're creating, or has it always been harmonious for you? That like
I think it's more or less harmonious because like all these things come from the same brain,
Okay.
It's just, I like to think of my work like to make it digestible to different audiences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I started off with art, but I had clients who were buying art, but mostly most consumers couldn't afford it. They loved it, but they couldn't afford it. So I had to make it more digestible for guys to indulge in it, appreciate it, and yeah, I think fashion was one of the reasons that made my brand so big.
Yeah.
Because it's wearable, you can see it on different people anywhere.
Yeah.
I think that has been my journey so far with it.
Another question that was sort of raised was, what work does your art do? And you kind of touched on that a little bit as far as that, like, you're able to provide what maybe was a slightly outside of the price point for, like, you know, your average consumer, and make it accessible to them in a wearable piece of art, something they can, like, keep in their daily lives. But what else do you feel like your art does as far as the people who are most keen on it?
Okay, I think my art basically represents this authenticity, and through like my storytelling, through the people I feature, through the community around me, I get to be very expressive. And I think my brand and me, I represent that, you know, just being yourself, being expressive in your own way, and just sticking to that. Not, I feel like, you know, we grew up in the age of the internet, so like there's so much influence from other places and all that, but we get so caught up in that and forget like the inspirations locally, like in our local communities, the stories we can tell, the relatable memories that we kind of share as Africans or East Africans or as Kenyans or whatever. We have this humanity in us, and we see it in everyday settings, and that's what inspires my brand so much, and those are the stories I like to tell.
It's definitely, those are the things that, like, I guess, speak to me as somebody who's a fan of your work and a fan of your brand, is that like it's rich in a very informed, authentic, homegrown way, but like with a very cutting edge contemporary approach.
Exactly.
That, like, you know, you wear it, you live it, you feel the, I don't know, the pride that this was, like, you know, made here, sourced here, but like if you go other places and you go into the world in these clothes, like it still cuts through, you know what I mean? You don't feel like you're now basic or average or like anybody else, you know what I mean? Like you still have this element of uniqueness, which I think speaks to the global potential of East African art, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like it's not just to differentiate you here, but like anywhere in
globally.
The world.
That's true.
What is your creative process like? I imagine because it's happening in multiple mediums, it can sometimes start in one place and then end in another. I can relate to this in some capacity, but I'm curious for you if there's like a hard and fast rule, or is it like it's always...
I don't think there's really like a formula to it. I feel like it's just like an idea sparks, either through imagination, through observing, through having conversations with people, and maybe I'll sit and ponder on it, or maybe I'll think of it maybe 2 years later. And for me, it's mostly like I have to go back and like reverse engineer like that kind of memory.
Really?
So it's like that kind of smell. It's like a smell, a taste. I have to go and think about, how does lavender smell? You know?
Interesting.
What was the first time I had the smell of lavender, and then bring it back in a way that is true to me.
Crazy.
So that's like my process, and then I'm very keen on experimenting. So I'll try things out. I like working with my hands a lot. So sourcing things, sampling, and just trying my best to bring the idea and execute it to the best I can with the resources I have. And that's kind of like my process, but it changes every time. Just a design kind of mentality. What about you? How do you go about your design in sounds and coming up with an album and such?
Okay, I want to answer that question, but I want to ask you a question first, because it's just right on the line of what you're saying. You also make clothes that you wear. Right? Like right now, like everything you're wearing is like what you made. And there's always a practical element to that. Like it's around how you live, whether it's like the weather you interact with or the places you're going. And I also noticed in some of your previous collections, whether it's like the Jumapili or this new one, I don't know exactly the word for it, but the coastal theme of it is like there's lived context or experiences for the clothes. You know, it's like as if you'll find yourself in a time or a place or and you say, what could I be wearing in this situation?
Exactly.
And then almost reverse engineer that. It's very much something that like
So I like to say like my pieces are like timestamps.
yeah.
So that brings to that same point. Yeah.
It's felt, you know, it's like almost visceral, you know, you can feel the context that the clothes are made for. You know what I mean? Like I
appreciate that.
Especially even sometimes the one-of-ones and things that are like, you know, unique to just maybe a singular piece. It's like they're very much for something.
That's true.
But to know your question, how would I go about the similar experience?
Yeah.
Again, there's no hard and fast rule. It's not like it's starts with music and then has to go into film and then has to go into this. Sometimes things have started as visual works and then informed music, which was a very new experience for me as well.
Yeah.
But I like that it's always fluid, a bit anamorphous. It's not the same every time. It's also largely informed by the people I work with. Collaboration is like paramount to what I do. There's a part of it that happens in isolation and by myself when I have to like synthesize the ideas, but for the most part, everything develops in contact with other people. Even the visual works, you know. I think when we reconnected now a couple of years after when I came to like now do more visual stuff.
Exactly.
The clothes also spoke to the ideas, and they also like, you know, influenced and like informed where I was going. Like the Boy Scout character is by and large designed by like Akiba pieces. Head to toe is like. And
how do you come about like sourcing these pieces? Because like you have the script and then you have the storyline, you have the kind of, how do I call it? Like you have the vision. And when it comes to like wardrobe and sourcing, how do you choose that you're gonna look at this brand and this brand and this brand and then combine it?
It's kind of almost every time has been serendipitous, where it's like I'll have like the theme or the vision for like the style, and then almost every time either you or Howie of At Odds,
shout out Howie, have
exactly what I need.
Do
you know what I mean? It's like I'll have this concept for like the character to be like, you know, boyish, to be, you know, like a, you know, like a Boy Scout. And then like you will have the details that make it.
I think that's so crazy because it comes out, the vision is seen and felt. And that's dope. I like that.
That's what I mean by collaborative, you know, where it's like I could have had the precise idea for how the character is supposed to look and feel, but without having people who add, you know, a certain life to the world I'm trying to make, it doesn't work. So,
as you speak about like films, do you have like any directors that you look up to, or any specific styles you kind of like to dive in?
For sure. I guess some of like the ones that come to mind immediately is like Wong Kar-wai. Who like we've spoken about
for sure
extensively. Andrei Tarkovsky, who's like this Russian experimental director. I can't remember his name, but this guy who did like the Kirikou. Have you ever watched that? It's this francophone animation. And the animation style is pretty cool. I actually think you would like it, especially given like your art style.
I'll check it out.
There's just like, I suppose it's classic directors, people with slightly experimental edge, foreign films, whatever that means. But Fellini, Fellini is like an Italian director. It's parts of their filmography. Sometimes it's never like their full bodies of work. But what about you? I also know you're very much inspired by the visual medium.
I'd say, like I like different stuff, different directors for different reasons. I really like Wong Kar-wai's work because I feel like the storytelling is just magnificent, you know. The lighting is magnificent, the cinematography. And I like the neon kind of aesthetic. Because I'm an artist, I like playing with colors. And like that dark subject and then just nice light, I think the contrast becomes really good. But also like the storylines of his work is really beautiful.
Yeah.
I also like Wes Anderson for sure.
Same,
I like
yeah.
symmetry in
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of my shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, those are the ones that influence me the most.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have guys like Nolan.
Yeah.
For different reasons, I like different
Yeah.
directors. How would you say like your sound has shaped like the culture in Uganda specifically?
Man, I wouldn't even say that actually, if I'm being entirely honest with you, because it's, I mean, maybe I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But
You don't know the impact.
yeah. Maybe it's also still early to tell.
Yeah.
But
Would you consider yourself like alternative in that scene?
yeah.
And are there a lot? I know a couple of them, but are there a lot? Is it a big community?
It's a growing community.
Okay.
I think it's like always encouraging, like how many more new names are coming up,
Okay.
and how many more new people are learning about each other. And I think what's interesting right now is people are sharing larger things beyond just like sound or beats.
Okay.
You know, people are beginning to like share visual ideas. People are beginning to like,
That's
do
dope.
collaborative projects.
Yeah.
Like, things are becoming more robust and like more multidimensional.
Okay.
Yeah, so growing scene is still a bit insular. I feel like in Nairobi, what is alternative? There's like an alternative industry. You know what
Yes.
I mean? Like all the mediums are able to, in some ways,
Form their own.
and also prop each other up.
That's true.
Like, the fashion individuals support the musicians who
Exactly.
support the film.
It's an ecosystem, you know?
Exactly. Speak about that though, because you've seen that ecosystem evolve.
That's true.
You know, and you've also played a pivotal part in that evolution.
Yeah, I think that evolution has been beautiful to watch over the years. I feel like, yeah, it just came about like being expressive. Like everybody was just doing what they love to do,
Yeah.
experimenting with it, and it just took steps by steps, and then people got better at their craft. The resources we had, we started sharing more,
Right.
we started collaborating,
Right.
and it kind of expanded like that. I feel like right now being an artist in Kenya or East Africa is so dope because
True.
guys have already like laid the foundation of kind of like how the system can be.
Yeah.
So for you, it's just now to pick whatever you need to use, or you have access to different people.
Yeah.
You can come talk to me, talk to different people in the industry, and they can kind of guide you. Whereas when we were starting, it was more like we didn't have a lot of mentors.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of spaces where we could go create.
Yeah.
But now, right now, I think there's a lot more spaces like that to be
Yeah.
expressive, to share your music, to perform at, and such and such. I want to ask you about like growing up. Did you grow up in Uganda?
Yeah, I grew up in Uganda. I was also in Kenya for a little bit for school, but I didn't exactly spend time really being able to immerse myself in like the growing culture at the time. But yeah.
So brings me to this question: what were like some of your earliest like music influences? What did you like listening to, or what did your parents like playing around you, or your uncles and such?
Right. So, growing up, my dad worked a little bit in radio.
Okay.
So music was kind of like the radio was always on in the car or in the house as well. Sometimes he had to just have it on, and then like this meant that there was always some kind of ear to what was happening as far as the mainstream, even if it didn't quite speak to me at the time.
Yeah.
There was just like that sound in the house. My mom introduced us to like Francophone, Lingala, like early traditional party music.
Interesting.
Or like what was their party music at the time.
Yeah.
She was also huge into R&B, like what do you call this? New Jack Swing, very like yeah, like just black party like music, but it's like well written, well produced.
Okay.
She was even now, right? Like she we can be having a conversation, and if we somehow unintentionally mention the song,
Yeah.
she would have to look it up and sing it and like, you know, show it to you.
Interesting.
So music, as far as like local and also like global sounds, is just
Yeah.
always a kind of presence in
Okay.
the house. But it was mainly in high school when I started sharing music with friends. This was the stuff that kind of informed the things that I guess I would go on to want to make or try and make, which is like hip hop, electronic music, jazz, indie rock, alternative music.
Yeah.
Yeah, early like Kenyan alternative music as well was like a thing that was happening in high school. Yeah, these were sort of the things that I guess all of this,
Okay.
you know,
Definitely,
informed me.
I can see the influences in like your cadences.
Right.
A lot of your music has that
Yeah.
vibe. A lot. You can see that in Lingala also influence.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very upbeat.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think you're doing a good job, man.
Thank you. We're trying, man.
Yeah.
I had a question regarding pivotal moments, because a second ago you were saying how when you guys were coming up, there were no like mentors, there were no spaces where you could showcase your work, and you guys largely changed that. Like you either made spaces or you found mentors or you became mentors.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what like were the pivotal moments, whether in your personal journey to that point or across like these last 5 or so years.
I think the pivotal moment is when like I get to collaborate with other artists,
Okay.
because my practice has been like very, I'd say, solo.
Right.
Yeah, like I like working by myself alone
Right.
and with my timelines, but whenever I get a chance to like collaborate with guys, I feel like we share the same vision and align in the vision. I think that's what I like doing the most.
Yeah.
Like I think me and you, we've been creating for a while, and we just met and things aligned.
Yeah.
And I think that's a blessing. With guys like Chebs,
Yeah.
we always go back and forth, share
Yeah.
ideas,
Yeah.
and then when it comes to execute, we execute. So for me, it's more of creating these shared memories and
Right.
executing them to our best abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'd say I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
And just building a community of guys who share the same visuals, share the same like morals, boundaries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it's very important because, yeah, right now we met a while ago and now we're still building and building.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, we just laid the foundation, and I can't wait to see what the growth in both of our careers is going to be.
Same.
In the next maybe 5 years, I don't know what visions you have for yourself or for people around you.
Right. Crazy question.
Yeah.
Because it's like lately the day-to-day is really about building what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
So it's kind of been on my mind in a way, but not in a very clear and like crystallized
Of
sense.
course.
But I think it would be the gap between idea and execution and outcome to like reduce, you know, to get faster at being able to
Exactly.
turn around the concepts. Like right now, it's very labor intensive, very capital intensive,
That's true.
it takes up a lot of time and life force. It would be good to get to a point in the next 5 years where it starts to almost flow as seamlessly as the ideas come. You know?
That's true.
And I would like that for a lot of the people around me.
That's
you know,
true.
for us to be able to get to a point where you could call me, you have the idea,
Yeah.
we make it
We
happen.
go straight to it.
And you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not no long talk.
That's true.
Another thing I guess would be for the ecosystem to become more robust. Because like right now, Nairobi's in one place, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know, as far as it being or becoming sustainable. And Uganda's in another place. I think in the next 5 years, if yourself, me, the people around us had a hand in making it more cohesive and more integrated,
Exactly.
I think that would be
I think the sooner guys start collaborating and working together,
for sure,
I think we can achieve way more.
Yeah.
Because like if I have a personal project and I know you're good at this,
Yeah.
we can both share this vision and execute it faster,
Yeah.
rather than me looking for the resources, looking for guys to do it,
Yes.
and da da
Yes.
da da. And
Yeah.
I think that takes a while.
Yeah.
And also that's what I found out like during in collaborations. It's like a lot of the guys I collaborate with, we just think of ideas and we don't have budgets and stuff like that, but
yeah.
we figure it out as
Yeah,
we go, and they become like very successful
Yeah.
concepts that we've brought to life.
Yeah.
So I definitely think, as a community, we need to start tapping into each other because we are the resources. Like,
Facts.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's nobody else
see.
who's gonna bring the resources
see.
to us. So I think that's very important, and I'm happy to be building with you
Yeah.
and the people around us.
For sure.
Shout out to Tangaza Magazine as well.
Facts. Yeah.
I think it's been you guys are doing a good job,
Yeah.
and it's over time. I feel like right now even Tangaza has just grown so much, and
That's
it's really
true.
a blessing to see. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. One of the individuals you've been mentioning, who we both work with, is Chebs.
Yes.
And one of your collaborations that's high key, just like pushed a boundary.
I know.
It was for Akiba video game concept campaign.
Exactly.
I want to just talk about that a little bit, especially from the idea to the casting to pushing Chebs as far as his technical ability to execute that. Because he's also told me a little bit about what it took. So I'm just curious for you to just be able to like.
So I've never actually, we've never even talked about this film, but it's a film we've been working on for about 2-3 years, you know. Chebs is the mastermind, to be honest.
Okay.
He came with me with an idea of this video game world, and we kind of built it together.
Nice.
But it was initially his idea to make something like this.
Yeah.
And I loved the idea, and we started executing, writing scenes for it.
Yeah.
I think it was very organic because, in the span of 3 years, we were shooting on and off because he was traveling a lot. But the ideas were marinating as he goes.
Yeah.
We continue talking, and I think that film is definitely one of my favorite.
Crazy.
Yeah, and it's actually my second film. But I think it was just sick to work out. We had to scout locations at early in the morning, and it's in the CBD.
Right.
And we had a small team, but we kind of made it work. And also making a body of work like that over a span of 3 years, ideas evolve. It's a very a dynamic kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of changes, a lot of editing, and I think we really executed it well. And the reception also was really good.
Yeah.
And that's the first film we did with Chebs.
Crazy.
And then we did another one, the reversible jacket one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's now my first debut as a director. And Chebs also pushed me so much because he showed me how to become a director, how to execute things in the film industry.
Right.
And his perspective helped me to grow so much. And I'm sure he'd say the same. I think I like people who we share the same vision because it's easy. I can communicate to you and we kind of find a middle ground and we push.
Right.
And sometimes even when we sleep on ideas, they kind of become bigger and bigger. So initial scripts might look like this and that, but once you start getting into the details, I think that's what makes the most difference.
Nice.
How did you feel working with him on your last project?
Very much the same.
Yeah.
He is somebody who he loves very much what you've just said, where it's he likes people who also push him to do something that maybe he wouldn't have done. And working with him was a mutual experience in that regard, where he's very straightforward, precise, you know. You just need to be able to communicate as clearly as you can, and he will rally, he'll push, you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
He's not somebody who's going to cop out or half-ass the idea.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? He's somebody who you can depend on to really get the best out of the concept that you share. And the better or the stronger the vision is, the stronger he is enthused about what you're doing.
Yeah.
So we were working on what was a very Wes Anderson based concept, and like he understood the references, and like, you know, those moments where he was now pushing me to like, nah, I like what we're doing, I want to make sure I really got it. And like, as an artist, sometimes, you know, you really love to hear things like that when like other people are as invested in what you're doing as you are.
Yeah.
It's very fulfilling, you know. You feel like, okay, it's a shared thing now.
Exactly.
It's bigger than me.
Exactly.
And that was really what working with him was like. And he's also very prepared to teach, you know, especially the technical aspects, which like I'm not as
exactly.
at, you know.
That's what I also liked about him. He's very willing to show you, you know, and learn with you or grow with you. And I feel like, that's a good person to have in a community because he can influence all of us to become better and better.
True. You mentioned a second ago that it was the film that you guys made was one of your favorite things. It's definitely my favorite thing that like you've made holistically. I'm curious, what other things of yours would you say are like your most prized creations?
Interesting. Like across different mediums, I feel like some of my collages are like my prized possessions because that's how I fell in love with art.
I see.
Yeah. So I started off with collages, and it was just like a way to express my thoughts.
Right.
And it kind of birthed everything else I do.
Right.
So I always say, like, you know, it joins the dots. Right now I'm into like making objects. I'm kind of focused on creating objects like sculptures, furniture and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm very obsessed with design in terms of that. As for fashion-wise, I think some of my prints are my favorites.
Okay.
Especially like the 254 print.
Nice.
I think that's the most iconic one.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to redo it.
Right.
But it took me such a short time to do it.
Yeah.
But I can't redo it. So it's one of those things that it became a monogram and a symbol of my creativity and my authenticity as a person. And it's deeply rooted in my craft.
Yeah.
So I'd say, those are some of the things that I really appreciate. What about you?
As far as my work?
Yeah. You have a favorite album, song, collaboration?
Crazy. Okay. I have, I suppose, from each body of work, like there's like a song that was maybe most special.
Yeah.
It's like in my debut EP. There's obviously Reckless, which is like my debut single.
Yes.
Like this song opened a lot of doors, and like through it I was able to meet a lot of people who changed my life or like impacted what I do.
Exactly.
But Sweet Light, which I think is the 4th song, to this day I think is like the most technically profound thing I think I've ever made as far as the production and like, the layering and the subject matter. I don't think I've made something that cohesive and pointed and like direct, and the energy was, you know, distilled to its most concentrated.
Would you say that song shaped like your sound?
Not even. I feel like it was a song that was the result of where I was at, where I was going through, who I collaborated with at the time. That I couldn't remake that even if I wanted to. Do you know what I mean? It was like a moment in time. That's my timestamp where like, you know what I'm saying? And each album has one of those where it was like, it could be cool to make other songs like this, but it was really just about where everything was at the time. And like, sometimes, you know, you have one of those and like you kind of take them as you get them. But I suppose the short film collection was like another...
Yo, you did a crazy one, man. Shit.
Thank you.
No, I think that was so beautiful to watch.
Thank you.
And it had a lot of emotion in it. You could see like your influences in terms of personality-wise and in terms of like your family. You can just see a lot of history embedded in the film.
Crazy.
And yeah, you guys did a good job, man. You did a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you for blessing us with such a body of work as well.
Worries, bro. I have to, I guess, give a mention of credit to Chebs again, Thomas, Seward, Tice, Balamwazi,
Yeah.
people who all became like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
very, very bonded brothers because of this experience. Like
Yeah.
people who connected with the vision and they then brought something to it that like I could have never done myself.
Yeah.
And then we both grew because of it. And I'm working on the director's cut, so I'm still editing it, but there's like two more stories.
Okay.
It's sort of just like give a rounding conclusion to the
Okay.
whole thing, and that's been like a labor of love.
Okay.
I guess just to close, because you asked me, and
Yeah.
I didn't really get an answer from you. I'm
Okay.
curious what you feel your 5 years from now, like what you hope to experience, grow, achieve.
As for me, I think the future holds a lot. I've said this in an interview before, and it was like I said, I want to put the paint on the wall
Okay.
and see where it takes it.
Yeah.
So I'm not really fixated in a certain way
Yeah.
of creating or whatever. I feel like for me it's to continue telling stories around me
Yeah.
and continue working with people who I admire.
Right.
And yeah, let's see where it goes, because I don't know what I'm gonna do the next
Yeah.
5 years,
I
you know.
feel you.
Like, but I want to experiment on as much as I can,
Yeah.
because how will you know if you're good at it?
True.
Maybe even this careers that we're taking is not our true
The
calling,
final
you know.
form, yeah. Maybe it evolves into
Yeah.
something else. Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to stay dynamic, stay experimenting, and yeah, hopefully we see where it takes us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.